Welcome to Mimi's Math Channel. Today I'm going to show you how to find factors in Desmos. I do want you to remember if we are talking about a trinomial, the standard form is going to be ax squared plus bx plus c. If it is not a trinomial, then make sure your highest exponent is leading and then you just count down. So in this case, 2, 1. For these examples, I've already shown the work. I'm just going to show you what to put in Desmos. For example 1, we have 6x to the fourth plus 15x squared. So if I have two numbers, I can use the function in Desmos shown as GCD, which means greatest common divisor. And then I can take the two numbers that I see and separate it by a comma, put it in parentheses, and it will give me my greatest common factor. I can type GCD or click the keyboard, select function, and then go down until I find number theory. And then I see GCD. Here, I'm going to put the two numbers in, which were 6 and 15, but I have to separate it by a comma. And I notice it shows me my greatest common factor of 3. I'm going to take my 3 out. In terms of the x's, what I want to look for is the one that has the smallest exponent. So for those who are visual, the first term had 4 x's, and then the second term had 2 x's. How many do they have in common? 1, 2. So I always want to take the exponent that's the smallest. That's what's going to go on the outside. And now I can just either divide each one of these terms by 3x squared, or I can just say to myself, 3x squared times what will end up being 6x to the fourth. 3x times what will end up being 15x squared. For the second example, it's already in standard form. And the second thing I want to do is pull out any GCF. If I look at numbers, I don't have a GCF. If I look at variables, I don't have a GCF. However, there is a rule that says if my leading coefficient is negative, I have to take that negative sign out. Well, when I take this negative sign out, it's going to change the sign of everything that follows. So on the outside, you put your GCF, parentheses, change the sign, change the sign, change the sign. So now we're going to go to Desmos and we're going to use the AC method. A is the number that's shown in front of your x squared, B is the number that's shown in front of x, and C is your constant. That's why you want it in standard form. So now I'm going to go to Desmos and I'm going to type in the A times C, which is 35, and then in the table, I'm going to look for B, which is negative 12. This is what it would look like. 35, which is A times C, divided by X. And now you click this gear and select table. You want to create a third column over here that mirrors what the second column looks like, but you want to arrow over to the right and then add X. What you're looking for is B, which was negative 12. I don't see negative 12, but if I'm looking at the way the numbers are counting, I know that I need to go up towards negative 3, negative 4. So I'm going to type in negative 3. That's not it. Negative 4. That's still not it, but I'm getting close. Negative 5. So I see now this is my B term at negative 12. And the two numbers that are in front of it are my factors. The signs matter. So I have negative 5 and negative 7. I'm going to take that information and I'm going to replace this negative 12x. So the first term always comes down. The last term always comes down. I color coded it to show you that the two numbers that I got from Desmos, I am now replacing in the middle. But since I'm replacing that negative 12x, I have to also include an x with those numbers. And now you can just go ahead and factor out each side. So over here, I have a 1 and a negative 7. So a number would not come out. However, the smallest exponent for my x's is a 1. So I'm just going to bring out 1x. X times what is x squared? X times what is negative 7x. So that's this left side. On the right side, if I did not know my GCF or my GCD in Desmos for 5 and 35, and I said 5 intentionally because you don't have to use the negative in Desmos, but if I did not know my GCF, what I would do is go over here and type GCD, or again, go back to your functions, parentheses, and now I'm going to type in, I'm just going to do the 5 and 35 versus the negative. And see, it tells me that 5 is my GCD. What I need you to know though is no matter what this sign is, I need you to bring it down. We know that the GCF is 5 because Desmos just told us that it was. So now I can either take negative 5x and divide by the entire negative 5 to end up with just x, or I can say negative 5 times what is negative 5x. Negative 5 times what is positive 35. If you take out a negative, all signs will change. Don't forget that. The first term was negative, it's now positive. The second term was positive. positive, it is now negative. That only changes when you take out a negative. Once you get to this step, you want to look to make sure everything in the parentheses is the same, because that tells you you're on the right track. And what's in the parentheses is now my GCF for these two. So I'm going to bring that down, and that is notated as inside. What's left on the outside has to go from left to right inside its own set of parentheses. But I cannot forget my GCF. I have to keep up with that. That's part of my answer. So my final answer is negative times the quantity of x minus 5, which is coming from what's on the outside, x minus 5, times the quantity of x minus 7, which is what's on the inside. The last example, we're going to take a times c, and when we're looking at any of these terms, we have to keep up with the sign. So 6 times negative 14 is negative 84, and then b is negative 5. We want two numbers to multiply to give us negative 84, but when we add them, they end up being negative 5. To get to your table, click the gear. You're going to create your own column, negative 84 over x, and then arrow to the right. If you don't arrow to the right, this is what's going to happen, and that's going to be incorrect information. So we're going to have to arrow over and press plus x, and now I'm looking for the number negative 5. I see that it is counting like the negatives are going this way, so this time I'm going to do 3, and if I just keep pressing enter, it'll fill in for me. I see negative 5 in my third column, and the two numbers in front are factors, and I have to pay attention to the sign. So one is positive and one is negative. This is what I'm going to place in the middle of my polynomial, and I'm going to keep up with my sign. So 7 has the positive sign and 12 has the negative sign. Both have to have the variable behind it because it's replacing this middle term, negative 5. And now I split it in half, and I'm factoring by grouping, and I'm going to take the greatest common factor, which is m. I'm left with 6m plus 7. Again, paying attention to the signs. I'm going to take this sign down. I go to Desmos and I type it in. I typically do not even include the signs because no matter what, it's just going to give me the positive portion of it. It's not going to give me the sign. Either way, if you just type it in, you just have to remember this sign has to come down, whatever it is. And then Desmos just told you that your greatest common factor will be 2. That is how you use Desmos to find factors when you are factoring. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Have an amazing day.